Hello everybody, welcome to my complete review of The Wire Season 1, Episode 1 through 7. Again, it's another TV show review, popular one, very popular. I literally just went on the internet and looked for the top most liked shows. This one's alright so far. I'll give you there are a lot of characters in this one, so I'll kind of set you up the plot and then I'll read you through all my plot points. And again, this is a complete breakdown, spoilers everywhere. But if you've watched the show and like to watch reviews, this is what you're going to get. But basically it just details West Side Baltimore drugs, the drug scene from the cops and the drug dealers. Pretty obviously The Wire, it's talking about a wiretap. Basically just the police department is trying to investigate a lot of crimes in Baltimore. But to begin with, I'll give you a little bit of breakdown of the people and then talk about where they come in the plot. But James McNulty, Jimmy McNulty, he's the main detective, kind of the main character. Bunk Moreland, he's his partner. James and Bunk are a part of the homicide department in police, and the homicide and the narcotics both have very relevant roles. Kima Greggs is a part of the narcotics side, and she's kind of Cedric Daniels is the lieutenant, and Lieutenant Daniels Kima Greggs is a detective, but she's kind of like the #1 detective. Lester Freeman is also a part of the narcotics division. William Rawls is the major that they all report to. Herc is one of the detectives. Ellis Carver is his partner. Irvin Burrell, he's like a second commanding officer. I'm not sure if I don't know police hierarchy all that well, but I'm not sure if the Irvin Burrell character outranks William Rawls or is just like one below him. But William Rawls and Irvin Burrell are kind of like the big police, and Rawls is a major, Burrell is like a second commanding something another. Presbolewski becomes part of the narcotics division. Jay Landsman, he's the big guy in the homicide division. Not a cop, but Judge Daniel Phelan is a relevant judge, and attorney Rhonda Perlman. The main drug crew is Avon Barksdale. He's like the kingpin. Stringer Bell's kind of his right-hand man. He's got two other high-ranking ones, Weebay and Stinkum. Again, I looked at the character list on HBO's website. It didn't even have all the characters, so I don't know what's going on there. But D'Angelo's Barksdale. He's Avon's first cousin. Bodie is kind of under D'Angelo. Wallace and Poot. I think Poot's on like the same level as Wallace. Wallace is a young Michael B. Jordan. It honestly took me a couple episodes. I kept seeing Michael B. Jordan in the film or in the TV, and I was like, where is he at? Clearly put on some muscle mass since then. But then there's another stick-up crew run by Omar Little, and then some other characters. You have like Junkies, Bubbles, and Johnny. Just people who use the Barksdale crew is really selling heroin and cocaine. So now let me give you the play-by-play of all the plot. And again, the setting is 2002, the west side of Baltimore. Opening scene, Snot Boogie gets killed, just a random character, for stealing gambling pot in the street, getting some craps game or cards game. You meet Jimmy McNulty, a detective, and D'Angelo is on trial for a May 4th shooting. I'm pretty sure the trial D'Angelo's on is for the Snot Boogie killing. Miss Lyles says D'Angelo didn't shoot after a different witness said he did. Two witnesses go on the stand. One says he did do the shooting, the other one says he didn't. There's a traffic stop arrest with a shotgun and a handgun. And the opening scenes is D'Angelo in court for this murder, and Stringer Bell either manipulating a witness or intimidating a witness to get a mistrial. They arrest one of the crew members with a handgun and a shotgun. D'Angelo is found not guilty of first or second degree murder because Stringer Bell was intimidating witnesses. Police department, and again my notes, I'm writing these down as I have them, and I've clearly seen 7 episodes now, so I get more into the characterizations and the character plots. So sorry if it's a little shaky. Again, there's a lot of characters in this show. Police department begins to investigate Avon Barksdale's operation in some high-rise buildings. Police major Raymond Forrester grills Jimmy about the validity. It's not Raymond, it would have been the what the fuck is the William Rawls would have been the one grilling Jimmy about the validity of Barksdale's criminality and 3 or 10 murders. Because at the beginning, the police department has really no understanding. They've never heard of Avon Barksdale. But somehow Jimmy Mcnulty has, again, some knowledge. Somehow Avon Barksdale comes up in one of the first episodes, and they're not sure like where or how. And there's something to do with the judge. I might have missed it, but James McNulty says something to the judge Daniel Phelan, and Phelan calls the narcotics department, or calls the chief about whatever he said, and somehow that gets all of this kind of going. Again, at this point, Jimmy's with the homicide division, not the narcotics division that hasn't really been set up yet. The gang is in a gentleman's club, which later turns out to be called Orlando's, and Marcel gets back from jail as D'Angelo gets acquitted for snob. I'm not sure who Marcel is. D'Angelo gets demoted to the pit from the tower for the trial. Basically, Avon knocks him down from, running the tower is a higher place and the pit's just like a projects. And it's one of the main settings of the scene, just an orange couch in the middle of beaten down Baltimore projects. 2 junkies buy heroin with counterfeit money, fails the second times and gets jumped by Avon's crew. And this is Bubbles and Johnny. Bubbles somehow knows Kima Greggs, but we'll get there. But they're buying dope, wrapping fake dollars in some real money, and Johnny drops the fake money right in front of the guys, and they beat him very badly. The drug unit is visited by Mcnulty, and they live. I'm not even sure this is either the drug unit or this isn't the underground basement unit yet. This is like either the DEA, but they have some video and audio of one of the dope houses, and again I think it's like the DEA. The junkie that was Johnny that was jumped is in the hospital. Greggs knows Bubbles, and he says he's got a lead for a drug investigation. Basically, Bubbles is upset that Johnny got beat up, and he's wanting to work with the police. The homicide unit gets put in a dump new office, and an officer, Presbalusi, shot the wall accidentally, and Lieutenant Daniels doesn't like his extra manpower. Basically, Daniels needs more people to investigate this. James McNulty's now said something to the judge. The judge has kind of instigated something. There was some press release that no one wanted because they didn't want the state's witness or the information released to the public. But now Johnny is Bubbles is wanting to work with Kima Greggs for Johnny being beat up. The dump new office is again just some underground thing. They literally have a scene where they're putting in a desk and get stuck in a door, but basically just a ragtag type of deal. Junkie that knows Greggs helps PD identify crew members with a red hat. Basically, Street Junkie knows a lot of the people throughout the Baltimore cities and neighborhoods, and the police department's now just heard of this Avon Barksdale. They only have a picture of him, and Bubbles is helping identify, he's as a junkie, oh hey man, I'll sell you a hat for $5, puts the hat on the people that he knows are involved in Barksdale's crew. McNulty and Bunk approaches D'Angelo in the pit and arrest him for questioning. Bunk is not sure who killed the victim in his case. He gets at this point it's a young female who later turns out to be an old girlfriend of Avon. D'Angelo breaks down during questioning. Lawyer shows up while he's writing a letter to the victim's family, but doesn't indicate any culpability. Basically, again, kind of a goofy scene to me. But D'Angelo's breaking down about, again, hardcore drug gang. He's breaking down about a murder, and he just the police try to they question him, but they know they don't have any information, so they try to get him to confess something. And he just writes this letter, but doesn't indicate anything. 3 officers go to the terrace towers, punches a gang member. Oh, the gang starts throwing bottles, then shoots at the cops. Basically, and the whole police department's pretty boozy. They're all kind of drinkers, even on the job and shit. But these 3 decide they're going to go to the towers, which isn't really a main place in the first season, at least. But go to the towers, and it's literally a high-rise building. And they're looking around, and people start throwing bottles at them. Take out a gun, look around. One of the dudes hits in the head. I think it's Herc that gets hit in the head. But then they punch one of the 14-year-old. They punch him in the face, and I'm pretty sure he ends up losing his eyeball. But they start, and then shoot at the cops, and there's a couple even gunfires, I believe. The death of the state witness hits the newspaper front page. Lieutenant rips off, again at this point I think it's the one who testified against D'Angelo in the opening trial. Lieutenant rips the 3 officers for assaulting a 14-year-old and destruction of equipment, tells the officers to get their story straight, and the 14 is blind in one eye. Yeah, and he comes back in episode 7. But that's the end of episode 2. And in the pit, where D'Angelo runs stuff, remember these people, Avon runs everything, Stringer Bell's the right-hand man. D'Angelo, Bodie, Wallace, Michael B. Jordan, and I think Poot are the ones that are really like in the pit most of the time. The dealers converse about morals of consumption versus distribution in the pit. And just amongst these 3 or 4, Lieutenant Daniels covers for Presbalusi. Remember, he like literally just misfired his gun into the wall. You know, desk pops like whatever that movie was. But covers for Presbalusi, still doesn't have a picture of Barksdale. D'Angelo teaches the pit dealers chess with some innuendo. I don't know what the innuendo was about. Probably just like killing or drug dealing. FBI raided the stash house Mcnulty saw when visiting the DEA. Either cops or a rival crew scoping out D'Angelo's pit. Turns out to be the rival crew. Omar's the stick-up guy. Again, an independent criminal, not in the Barksdale crew. Orlando's is the name of Barksdale's Gentlemen's Club, where the counting money with Stringer, who's happy with Dee's take. Orlando's seems to be a pretty relevant place so far through season 1, just like their main, headquarters. Talk, count money, stuff like that. The PD get a picture of Avon Barksdale off an old boxing poster and prepare it undercover with Bubbles, help, and makes buys in the pit without progress on the major players. Again, after the Judge scenario with Judge Phelan, they really want the big players. They want Avon, they want Stringer. So they make some hand-to-hand buys. They have some evidence on people, but it's all just the lower level guys. Chief, the major, wants to arrest the low-level players. Mcnulty's not happy and wants to clone the dealer's beepers from some chick who turns out to be Rhonda Perlman, and they bang one out. McNulty has 2 kids, an ex-wife, and a fuck buddy with Rhonda Perlman. The others lookouts, and they have to the way they get the wiretaps, they have to prove exhaustion. Like they've done everything they can to get the approval for the wiretap, or not even the wiretap at this point, just like these all use beepers. They know there's no cell phones in the pit, the projects. There's no landlines. They all use beepers and a little code, and we'll get there. But the others looks out were another stick-up crew. Yeah, the other lookout was a stick-up crew. They rob the pit stash house, shoot a dude in the knee, and leave. Bub sees the van speed away, learn it's Omar. McNulty refuses to participate in the raid. The police find nothing. McNulty's DEA contact tells him Lieutenant Daniels is dirty. There's a scene where, again, I think it's the DEA, but another part of law enforcement, not a part of the major narcotics or the homicide division, that you see a couple times. They do how the patrol people sit in their police cars and tells them that Lieutenant Daniels is dirty and has a couple extra $1,000 than he should. Haven't really heard more about that yet. Episode 4. A desk is stuck in the PD's makeshift office. A cop was punched during the raid, is in the hospital. Again, one older white cop. McNulty and Greggs tried to get someone to flip, facing 5 years. Just probably someone on Barksdale's crew at the court. Mass arrests were made from the raid of the low-level people with no hard evidence. And the main dude, not D'Angelo from the pit, turns out to be Bodie. Walks away from the pit, walks out of the juvenile detention center as police come to investigate. And the ones coming to investigate him are Ellis Carver and Herc, and they have a bunch of back and forth scenes with him and Bodie. Bunk and McNulty get a weak case lead. Bubbles tells Greggs about Omar's crew background, and you find out Omar is gay. It's not like a big thing in this TV show at all. Barksdale crew put hits on Omar's crew. McNulty's son is introduced playing soccer, and ex-wife. They have a lovely exchange. They're not on great terms, and they drops Bubbles back off in the projects. D'Angelo admits to his crew that the pit he killed the old shoddy of Barksdale for talking to police. And this is just like I'm literally trying to predict the language of the writing. Like someone has a script somewhere and I'm trying to write the same words they're writing. But where was I at? So I'm pretty sure, like I said, I think the opening scene certainly was D'Angelo. I think it was the snot boogie guy he killed. But he admits to his crew that he killed the old shoddy of Barksdale, the old girlfriend of Barksdale, for talking to police. PD looked for Bodie, the pit guy that left the juvenile center detention. The fat cop, Jay, talks about jerking off to the captain with his 4-inch wonder. Vouches for Mcnulty, who was sent to narcotics from homicide for telling the judge about Barksdale. The fake pager works on D'Angelo. Again, they're now starting to get data. They figured out there's a little code. The partner of the cop in the hospital wants to fall down the stairs to get retirement. Whoever got punched in the raid of the low-level people, again, older white dudes, like he gets some kind of like medical release or something, or some sort of retirement, and he tells his partner to go like basically fall down the stairs and do the same thing. Narcotics department is excited the pager clone got D'Angelo. Mcnulty and Bunk recase the murder scene of the weak case they think is unrelated to Barksdale, and this is the chick that D'Angelo is talking about that he killed. They say like fuck like 25 or 50 times. Basically they go back to the murder scene, they tap 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 on the window, D'Angelo shot it from outside, they get the right angle, and then they recover a damaged slug. And they recover a mangled slug in the wall and the casing outside. The Lester culp got D'Angelo's pager and Mcnulty bond. The cop, Lester, who got D'Angelo's pager and Mcnulty cloned, and McNulty bond over getting sent out of homicide for doing police work. There's something with Lester Freeman that he was like put on like some like desk duty for like a pawn shop or something. Episode 5, Avon is being careful. Omar planning another play, like another stick up. PD gets judged to authorize the cloning pager affidavit. The data comes in encoded. Stringer and Avon suspect a snitch in the pit or in the low rises, and basically they have D'Angelo basically do something like stiff the people that work with him, say like don't pay them or don't pay them all they need, and see who still has money, to see like who's getting money from one of the other stick-up crew, or maybe they're working with police, or see who has money from some other source. Omar's crew sticks up some dudes. McNulty and Greg sit on his van. Herc and his partner Carver arrest Bodie in the pit, and then they get nothing out of him and beat him. Dee and Chick go to a fancy restaurant. Again, in the Orlando's, in the gentleman's club, Dee is trying to hit on one or two of the different girls in there. One time they go to dinner, and he has some off feelings about being a drug dealer at a nice restaurant or something. Avon gets paged about finding one of Omar's crew. Remember, Avon has like $4,000 on. There was 3 people in the stick-up crew. Probably like I think $6,000 to kill Omar and $4,000 for the other 2 people. Bunk and McNulty get a match on the casing. They interview Deirdre's old friend, and they learn about Orlando's. This is when the police find out about the gentleman's club. Bubbles' friends pees in a bag now because he got beaten up by the Barksdale crew. He might have HIV. Again, just something he's like, he has to take some pills. They don't really say what, but I'm assuming because he's junkie means HIV. And isn't happy Bubs is helping the PD. Again, Bubbles this whole time is like working with the PD because the dude got beat up, and Johnny's like, why are you working with the cops? D'Angelo learns Avon gave Stink, just another person in his crew, Stinkum, his own corner. And again, remember, D'Angelo used to have like more like, D'Angelo's on salary, he gets paid a set amount, he doesn't get any percentages. Prez Bellucci cracks the code with a phone button pattern, just basically how the crew is encoding their information. Omar spots the tail of Griggs and McNulty. Wallace spots one of Omar's crew and calls Stringer, says what's done is done, or it's done. That's the end of episode 6. Wallace and his boy see the murdered Omar's boy, has second thoughts about the whole thing. He starts getting, again, he's like young, I don't know, 13, 14. They see the body, Avon Barksdale, and they tortured him. But it's like right outside his house or whatever. McNulty gets put back on homicide rotation at night by Rawls, but the drug case is taking off. He kind of doesn't want to. He wants to get the drug case. Cops get Stringer's number off a tapped phone. So Bodie faces no real legal punishment. He's 16 in court, has to call twice a week. Here, Herc and his partner are furious, calls Bodie fuck nuts, LOL. Basically, again, just gets puts on probation. Again, all of these people have lawyers that come in and do this or that to help them get with their cases. Major Rawls wants D'Angelo charged with weak evidence. Rawls rejects Daniel's plea initially to wait for the bigger players. Because again, Rawls just wants convictions, everyone else wants the bigger players, and they're all worried that if they move too soon, the case goes to shit. One of the drunks at Narcotics quits, the guy who's going to fall down the stairs. Bubbles, Johnny, and others steal piping. One other junkie steal piping and copper from the back of a van or a truck. They have a little play, or a little set up little crime, and they steal just copper footing. They sell it for 30 cents a foot. Stringer and Avon question D'Angelo about the snitch. And again, D'Angelo figures out there's a scene where he's throwing eggs down, and her name's Cassandra maybe, or Cassidy. They call her Cass. But he kind of figures out that there's no one's a snitch, but someone's kind of stealing from the stash, and doesn't tell Avon and Stringer that. Johnny gets arrested for possession after they sold the copper and got some more drugs. Sterling and Cassandra weren't snitching, but were taking money from the stash. D sort of covers for them. Omar's boyfriend was the one killed, though one of the stick-up guy was Omar's boyfriend. He gets killed, identifies the body with I think the guy's name was Brandon, with McNulty, gives some info to the PD. Again, he just killed his boyfriend. The dude's like, all right, fuck it, let's fuck up Avon's crew. Realize they missed the murder pages. The PD realizes they missed the murder pages of the stick-up dude, the Brandon guy. Again, there's data coming in of these pagers all the time, and they also have to have visual confirmation because they're not allowed. The affidavit doesn't allow them to listen to any calls indiscriminately. They have to make sure they have to have visual confirmation that it's one of the crew. So they're always up on the the buildings looking down to make sure that it's one of the crew that they can listen to. Fails to get support from the PD to stop Rawls' charging of the lower level people. They get a month extension from the chief of police. Basically, again, Rawls initially rejects Lieutenant Daniel's pleas, but then kind of comes around or gets 30 more days. That's the end of episode 6. Episode 7, Presbalusi decodes a re-up with Stinkum. Rawls wants dirt on McNulty. Rawls is now trying to get McNulty's badge. The PD chase and arrest Stinkums. It's the Stinkum and the youngin is what they call him, but just ride along. Turns out to be the 14-year-old that went blind from getting punched by Herc, or Presbalusi, or whoever did the punching. With the re-up in the pit. Again, the PD is going to go try to intercept this re-up of drugs. Stinkum calls Stringer. PD must have visual confirmation on who's using the wiretap. Greggs gets no jail time for Johnny on his possession charge. Goes to NA with Bubs. Again, another Johnny gets out and just has to go to Narcotics Anonymous or just some sort of support group. McNulty and Bunk get some info on the murder. Omar said Bird did. And Omar's saying Bird's part of Avon's crew. Omar wants just to get whoever they can. Gives them an idea about a murder and basically says, you have to find him with his gun. He's too proud to throw it away or something. The youngin, Kevin Johnson, lost an eye because of Presbaluski. Not sure when, but it was the scene at the High Towers. McDaniels and other chief/major go to a swanky fundraiser for the police department. Avon thinks a snitch is in the pit again because of the bust. D denies it. Stringer and Avon has Stringer go to the pit to enforce changes of just their how they run their operation. Avon is confused about how PD is getting the data. McNulty and Greggs use Omar to look for Bird's murder weapon. Again, they're just Greggs and McNulty are sitting in a car, and Omar's in the back, just trying to like point out people. But says if you want that iron on them, you got to catch them not in this area because they're not allowed to have weapons in this area. Orlando's bartender brings Dee an opportunity to sell without telling Avon, because you remember D'Angelo and the bartender at Orlando's, they just get paid a set amount, they don't get any sort of percentages, and they're both kind of off put by that, and they're just kind of feeling stuff out. Narcotics successfully arrest Bird with a gun for killing a state's witness. He gets beat up, the gun matches the ballistics, and he gets beat up in the holding room. Stringer has the payphones ripped out of the pit, and when Stringer and Avon come down, they ask if anyone's using, and clearly there's a scene where Michael B. Jordan is now using because of seeing the body, but either D'Angelo isn't even aware that Wallace is using, or is covering from a little bit. At this point, I don't think he even knows. Omar helps Bunk with another murder after they get Bird with the gun. And he says, Bunk says, whatever murder you can give us, we'll take. The Denise Redding, this is now back, that's one scene, but now once they solve Bunk and McNulty solve when D'Angelo shot Avon's old girlfriend, Denise Redding, which originally they thought was not related, he gives it to the cop who Rawls is hounding to solve murders, and tells McNulty Rawls wants his badge. Again, Rawls is one of this other cop, I couldn't even find the name, not sure who, but Rawls wants one of the cops, and again this is big to police department, to find dirt on McNulty, to take his badge, or to solve murders. And so McNulty and Bunk give the Denise Redding's solution case solved to the cop, and so I'm pretty sure that's why he told McNulty. So that is a complete breakdown of like every major plot event from The Wire Season 1, Episode 1 and 7. Any major themes so far? I'll give you my grade. I'll give it a B. It's nothing super great, but I can watch it. It's not off-putting. Give it a B so far. We'll see. Again, I bought the whole series. We'll see how this goes. Should just got a fucking HBO subscription. My dumb ass didn't do that. But any major themes? I don't know. Just drug dealing, cops, typical crime stuff. Again, the only interesting thing to me is just seeing the hierarchy of police, because I don't know, the chief, the lieutenant, the major, the captains, like who the fuck's who? I don't really know. So it's kind of like the only interesting thing for me. Again, like educationally, past that I think is a pretty entertaining show, and I'll give you a further breakdown of the rest of the season soon.